Come on, Crabble. It's supper time. It's supper time. Come on, Crabble. Doo-doo-doo. Come on, Crabble. Doo-doo-doo. It's supper time. It's supper time. Got a little piece of corn on my lip. Come on, Crabble. Yeah, sorry, I've been on a Little Shop of Horrors kick lately. I told you I'd be back. I'm back. This is unprecedented, folks. Whew. I never do this. Ever. Ever, ever. Ever, never, ever do I do this. Hey, Rue, what's up, buddy? Back again. Back again. I mean, do we ever do this? We never do 2 in a row. 2 in the same day. You know, the truth is, I just don't want to have this carry over into another week, even though really I could stretch it out. If I really wanted to stretch it out, I could stretch it out. But there's more important fish to fry. So we're going to finish this up now. Hold on. I got to share this around again. Listen, I'm treating this as a whole nother episode. So I'm going to go through the whole spiel again. That's what I'm going to do. That's the plan. That's the plan. Hold on. Let's just share this to a couple of places. You know, a couple, 2, 3 places. Part D. Hot Shots Part D. So I'm going to do my whole little spiel, my whole little shebang, you know. If you missed it earlier, I mentioned that I was wrong. If you didn't catch the first broadcast, I was wrong about a few things with the Michael Graves episode, Michael Graves tangent. Argyle Goolsby was not in that band when they had booked that tour. That was, listen, when I'm wrong, I need to, or when I'm incorrect about something, I think that's a better way to say it. When I'm incorrect about something, I think it's important that it gets clarified. So I am just clarifying once again for anybody who's new to this broadcast that that was not the case. That tour was booked without Argyle Goolsby. He then joined the band afterwards. That poster, which deceptively looks like it's using Argyle Goolsby as like a foothold into England, is not necessarily the case. I mean, on some level, maybe a little bit of like, hey, you know, friendly face here because Goolsby is, you know, appreciated on that side of the pond. However, I mean, they were already locked and loaded without him. So that's the thing I want to clear up and clarify. That it wasn't just that Goolsby tour poster. They had a bunch of those tour posters for each member of the band that was in the band. So it wasn't just Goolsby on a poster. It was they had one for Loki, they had one for the drummer. I don't know who was drumming at the time. They had one for Graves. So everybody had a poster. It seems that the Goolsby one was the one that got circulated around. I saw the Goolsby one. That was the only one I had seen. So I'm started going, maybe, you know, this is how this went. So that I offered my interpretation of events based on what I had seen, but I was wrong. So I'm clearing that up here right now. Okay, enough with that nonsense. Let's move on. So we were. No. Stop it. Stop it now. Also, just want to say, so Pizza Punk with Paris Mayhew from the Cro-Mags. The first episode is coming. Check out the trailer on YouTube. It's there. You may notice some smaller Misfits videos on my YouTube page. That's just me taking out smaller sections of these incredibly long broadcasts and going, you know, that could be its own video. Like, for instance, there's a video uploaded talking about the Misfits with Sid Vicious. Another one is, why did Arthur Googie leave the Misfits? Another one that's coming up is, why did Bobby Steele leave the Misfits? This content can be found in the longer episodes. I just thought, hey, this is a great way for anybody who doesn't want to wade through all these episodes or wants to get some more bite-sized content, or maybe might attract new listeners, especially on YouTube, because this show eventually will be moving to YouTube, or at least I'm going to attempt to move it to YouTube. So no longer will we be streaming live through Facebook. I don't know if you've recently heard, Facebook just made it much harder for live musicians to like do their streams and DJs and stuff. I just want to get, I'm going to get out of Dodge if I can. Which means you really should migrate to the YouTube page if you give a shit. If you like catching this stuff live, it'll always wind up in the same place on the YouTube page. Just that I think we're going to try and broadcast directly from the YouTube page in order to, I don't know, sort of maximize eyeballs on said page. So that's the plan. Okay, I'm all shared up. Tonight's choice of seltzer is Dragon Whispers. Dragon Whispers Bipolar. Yeah, baby. I love these little half pint cans. They're wonderful, but they're also incredibly frustrating because the flavors are great. But they just don't. Oh my God, I just spilled seltzer all over myself. They just don't last that long. Isn't it amazing what an hour makes? An hour ago, I was stumbling through my, I can't read. And now I'm like super like jacked up, hyped up, like I did a bunch of cocaine. Did not do any cocaine. As a matter of fact, I am a sober person. I am sober. I don't usually announce that. I am sober. I do not take drugs. People ask me all the time. They say, Jeff, what kind of drugs are you on? And you know what I say? I say, I don't take drugs. I am drugs. Salvador Dali. It's my favorite quote from Salvador Dali. Okay. All right, man. Yeah, fun to go back over this zine. I agree. I'm glad you haven't read it in 20 years. I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever read it. I'm trying to remember the last time I read it. But before we go there, we have to go to our sponsors. Like, Jeff, we already did this in the last episode. I was like, yeah, but we're doing 2 episodes. So 2 bites of the apple, baby. 2 bites of the apple. Oh, I just lost 2 viewers because I popped this sucker open. Listen, you got to get your merch. This merch supports this channel. I'm not asking you to buy me a cup of coffee anymore, although that would be nice too. All of those links are still available. You can also rent a movie on VOD. But if you want to support the creation of this content, like a really great way to do that and represent is buying one of these fucking styling shirts. You're like, oh, I don't like orange, Jeff. How about a lime green? Ooh, lime. We got a lime green, or is that a neon? I can't tell if that's lime green or neon. Or maybe you like pink. Or maybe you like a dark blue. Whatever the case, we've got you covered with apparel, okay? We've got, what are these? These are die-cut stickers. We've got a variety, a plethora, if you will, of long-sleeve shirts. We've got hoodies, baby, hoodies. Do you have an Android phone? We've got tons of Android cases. Look at all the different Samsung cases we have. We have lots of them. We also have iPhone cases. Oh, man. You want to represent on an iPhone case? You can totally do that. What color, do you ask? Tons of them. We got tons of colors. Would you like an eggshell green, seafoam green? You can do that. We can put this on a seafoam green. We can do an Easter purple white. Yeah, purple. Easter purple pastel, if you will. We can do another seafoam green. I guess you'd call that seafoam green. So yeah, the options are endless. So here's a nice, beautiful female tank top of sorts. Although, you don't need to limit to what you can and can't wear. Here's a salmon tank top if that's your deal. Okay, you're going, fuck, this guy won't shut up about his wares. Well, I have one more. I'm gonna shove down your throat. And we're gonna move on here. Look, we can get you want to get that sour cream? You can get it with the yellow. You can get it in this. I guess this is neon. Wow, that is a weird choice. I don't know if I would go for that, guys. The options are there, but it doesn't mean you want to go for them. I think black is honestly the best one you want. You can get that again on your phone case. You can get a coffee cup. When you make a purchase in the merch store, your credits get added to 1979. Yeah, that's right. I'm Uncle Jeff. Hey, it's me, Uncle Jeff. I'm Uncle Jeff, like Uncle Glenn. Hey. So you can get a mug. And like I said, when you make a purchase, your name gets added to the executive producer credits for 1979, A Year of Horror Punk, which is our deep dive into 1979, coming very, very, very soon. Okay, enough of that stuff. We're done. We're done peddling our wares, people. Okay. Where is the zine? Enough with the preamble, Jeff. Pull up the zine. Okay, here it is. We were talking about Earth AD, I believe. Look at this photo of Doyle. First, let's look at this photo of Doyle real quick. Look at him. Look at him there, the blow dryer on his hair. I mean, that is like the most hardcore Devilock I think I've ever seen. Have you ever seen such a Devilock? I think this is our thumbnail. Hold on. No, let's do it like that. Yeah. No, it didn't work. How was that for a thumbnail? I don't know. Okay, that's a pretty good thumbnail. Got it. Look at that Devilock, man. Look at this dude. Look at this specimen, man. Austin says, Uncle Jeff, can we now refer to Robbie Bloodshed as nephew Robbie? I don't understand your comment, Austin. Why would I do that? By the way, I did see, I was going back through your thing. You posted about how Graves acknowledged that Chud has some Me Too stories. He said Michael Graves said he could name off 25 situations with Dr. Chud and the Me Too shit from whatever episode that was that you sent to me. Interesting. I don't understand what you mean, though, about nephew Robbie, Uncle Jeff, Uncle Glenn. You're not making any sense there, Austin. But look at this Devilock, man. I mean, this thing is fucking glorious, man. Like, I want this thing in a museum. Like, I wish we could have freeze-dried Doyle's hair, shaved it off. His hair grows back, I mean, that's like primo Devilock. That's before he started putting, like, the rubber tape on it or whatever. Whew, it's fucking crazy situation. All right. Back to the text. Overall, we're in Earth AD right now, and Jerry is well, actually, this is like I don't know what this is. This is like an expose in between the Jerry Oli interview. This is like an analysis by Mike Stacks, who's doing the interview for Jerry. Overall, the standard of Glenn's writing is well below par. Cuts like Wolfblood and Hellhound are relentlessly powerful, but virtually hookless, while other stronger songs like Earth AD and Devilock are almost lost in the oversaturated production. I don't really know. I think oversaturated production is the wrong thing to say here. It's not, there's nothing oversaturated about the production. The production's like, it's live production, if anything. They do it live in a room, and then are they lost songs? No, man, it's not lost. It's just Glenn's vocals are buried, for one. Number two, Glenn doesn't have any room for melody, as we said. It's crazy. It's a crazy situation. Wolf's Blood is a song. I mean, again, I don't remember which of the songs that were written for Samhain. Does anybody remember? I don't remember which ones were, but again, these songs are probably they're not written to be sung like Misfits songs. That's why they're Misfit Samhain songs. Misfit songs written for Samhain. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of makes sense that Wolf's Blood it would not be would not sound like, you don't know who I'm talking to. No one ever did. Not when I get like this. My hair. My blood, bottom on my face. I mean, like, how would it sound? Like, it needs to be barked. You heard John from Voice of Doom. He did it so well. You know who I'm talking to. No one ever did. It just sounds better that way, I think. Austin writes, I'm hoping you'll do a part 2 on Chud. The more you know. No, I will not. Unless Chud says anything more, I'm nothing more to say about it. Honestly, it's done. It's all done. No part 2. Let Chud fucking rot in obscurity. That fucking guy. Chris says, will these be sold in Walmart? I'm assuming you're talking about the Teeshirts. They will not be sold at Walmart. The only place you can get them is at the web store, the Teespring web store. I mean, you shouldn't have said anything because now I have to fucking get the links and post them in the thing so that you can see where to get them. And now I'm not on a here we go. All right, so if you want to buy, anybody wants to buy a shirt, you can do it right here. If anybody wants to buy a shirt, you really would be a dear. Would really help me out. These are horror punk apparel shirts. Sour Cream and Misfits Story. Okay. Anyway, any which way. So, that's not to say that they aren't some amazing tracks. Queen Wasp is furious, blasting, buzzing tour de force, while Death Comes Ripping wins with distinctive whoa, 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 sing-along back vocals and I couldn't read this in the other episode. A demoniacal, a demoniac. How do you say that fucking word? A demoniacal arrangement of thundering drums, vicious guitar, and a finale that seems trapped in hell's whirlpool. Most inspired of all, though, is the staggering green hell, a ruthless exercise in dynamics which drags you from the high-tension one-chord guitar and bass chug to explosive blasts of rapid changing switch and yell. One of the most crushingly intense pieces of music ever committed to vinyl. And their best on Earth AD, the Misfits sound at their best on Earth AD. The Misfits sound compelling and invincible. I agree, man. They sound compelling and invincible. It's an iron fist, fucking drenched in green hellfire that punches you right in the fucking face. And at their worst, just sound like noise. I don't think any of it sounds like noise, man. I just think you got to know what party you're coming to. You know, what party is this? Am I going to this kind of party? Am I going to that kind of party? You know, you got to dress appropriately. Unlike their other records, which hook you in the first time, Earth AD takes some getting used to. But now here's the one question that I have before we move on. Is Earth AD the same band as the Static Age band? I mean, that could be its own episode alone, where we just pour over trying to understand how this band could be this band. Because when you look at those two lineups, they are so different. They're worlds different. Earth AD is not Static Age. Like when you think about, like I'm thinking about the band, it's just not the same band. How can you call them all the Misfits? It just gets so confusing. It's so nuanced. There's endless layers to this. Mike Stacks. Where was Earth AD recorded? The production is kind of a mess. Ouch. Oh, here, Jerry Only is about to dish. Ready? Jerry Only. You want to hear something? We played the Whiskey Owl's Bar and went right to record the album that same night, okay? The guys from Black Flag hooked us up and we recorded at this place. It was a giant concrete garage, which I love. I love a live sounding room because you just get some really great shit. That's how we got all those feedback tracks, throwing the guitars on the floor for a whole song. What happened was, when we were there, Glenn fell asleep. He didn't have nothing to do with the recording of the music. It sounded like fucking Motorhead on fucking speed. It was great. Motorhead had just done that Ace of Spades thing, and shit, this pissed all over it. Then what happened was, he went back and remixed it later on and took all the fucking aggression out of it. If I was to play you the original versions, you would cry. You know what I mean? Wow. So, all right, a lot to take from this thing. First of all, I had heard this. I had heard they were talking about, they got feedback tracks throwing the guitars on the floor for the whole song. So I did not know that. I guess they actually threw their guitars for the whole song. It was always my understanding that at the end of a song, they would throw their guitar in this concrete room, close the door, and then just record the feedback as it would just drain out of the guitars or whatever. I didn't know it was in a concrete room. That's so interesting. And then, yes, it's recorded live. It's a live record. They're playing live in there. And, you know, I'm baffled by the fact that Doyle plays so well. I mean, Doyle plays really fucking well on this recording. He does. They're so tight. Doyle, Jerry, and Robo are locked into such a groove. And yeah, that Glenn fell asleep. I don't know if Glenn fell asleep. Maybe Glenn fell asleep for a little bit. You really think Glenn slept while they're recording this album? You think Glenn wouldn't want to be awake? I would love to ask Glenn about that. I would love to hear his version of his point of view of this time when they were recording. I'd love to hear what Spot has to say. Spot would be the most interesting person to listen to because Spot is completely unbiased in all of this. He would tell you exactly whatever Spot says. I would go, okay, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is what I would believe through Spot's testimony. And they claim he went back and remixed it later on. Maybe this was after the band had broken up, right? So the band has broken up and Glenn is gotten the cover back from Mad Mark Rude. You've seen that glorious fucking cover. That is the cover. And remix the album without the band or the input of the band or whatever. You know, again, it sounds like there was no plan. Whenever Glenn records or has recorded in the past, there always seems to be a plan when it comes to Earth AD. There always seems to be a plan when Glenn records. I always hear this in interviews. I hear about how Glenn knew exactly what he wanted when they went into the studio. And it feels like Earth AD, there was no vision. There was no actual vision behind Earth AD. Earth AD is a smattering of circumstances and conditions and, you know, in environmental situations that all come together in a mixing pot and create this beautiful accidental demon beast monster thing. Right. Jeff Pierce says Spot has a book coming out soon. Man, you let me know. Someone let me know when that book comes out. We got to read about Earth AD. It'd be crazy if Spot didn't talk about Earth AD in that book. That's going to be a wealth of gold. But think about it. So Earth AD is supposed to be an EP or something. They only got 5 songs. Jerry's venting about how they only learned 5 songs since Robo's in the band or whatever, since Googie left the band, whatever you want to call it. They only have 5 songs to record. And then Glenn kicks in 4 other songs that were meant for Samhain. What are those songs? Blood Feast, Death Comes Ripping, Hellhound, and Green Hell. Does anybody know? Can anybody confirm that? Oh, shit. Jeff Pierce says Spot also did a recent interview with Nate on the podcast called The Vinyl Guide, talking a little about the Misfits. Jeff, please put that link. Please put that link in the comments or DM it to me on the Lodi Facebook page. I want to fucking check that shit out. Or maybe I'll just come back here if you do neither of those things. But it would be a big help if you could do it for me, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Damone call? Damon. Oh. Jonathan James with the clutch. Ready? It's demoniacal. Demoniacal. That's how you say it. Dude, thank you. And you know what? I'm not fucking too embarrassed to admit it. There are just sometimes you read a word and it's demoniacal. What did I say? I mean, you just got to laugh. You can't even, demoniacal. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that, buddy. Really do. Rue says, I remember hearing Glenn say he didn't like the way Earth AD turned out. Something about the final mix. So, Rue, yeah, that's interesting. So Jerry here is talking about, Glenn remixed it. Maybe Glenn didn't like the way it sounded initially, period. And, redid that final mix in an attempt to save it, an attempt to make some sort of sense. Maybe that mix is like, okay, I'm going to conform this to hardcore thrash as much as possible. Because I don't like the way it sounded. It's supposed to be slow, slow atmospheric Samhain sort of shit. We're speeding it up to match these other 5 songs that are part of the, so that makes sense now. Okay. I think we cracked the nut. We literally are cracking the nut in real time. You have 5 songs that are sort of written to be hardcore songs, right? Those 5 songs. Then you have Samhain, like the slow Samhain songs that are added on to those 5 songs, making the double EP, Earth AD and Wolf's Blood, right? 4 songs: Death Comes Ripping, Hellhound, Blood Feast, and Green Hell. Are those the 4 songs? Are supposed to be slow, atmospheric Samhain songs. And then you have the 5 hardcore songs. That's where all the different conflicting interview shit comes from. So you have Glenn saying, oh, Earth AD was supposed to be slower. He's referring to just the 4 Samhain songs. You have Jerry talking about the 5 hardcore songs that were probably written coming into Earth AD, much faster, that were written to sort of mirror that stuff. And then you have and then it all gets played at the same speed when they're recording with Spot, right? And much to Glenn's dismay, but also it's Jerry who's pointing the finger back at Glenn going, no, he wanted them fast, but he's only referring to those 5 songs, not the other 4 songs. That's where the disconnect comes in. And then Glenn, after the band breaks up, Glenn is remixing the songs so that they all kind of sound uniform. Because when you listen to Earth AD songs, and again, someone mentioned it the other day in another broadcast where there was a reason why the masters had disappeared. Oh, they got sent to Germany and they never came back. So the masters are lost, right? Thank you. Jeff Pierce put the link in the thing. And Marty, what are you saying here? Marty, I always wondered what Earth AD would sound like with Googie, or even if Walk Among Us had Robo. Earth AD is definitely the most compelling record, but makes a little sense in retrospect as a transition to Glenn's Samhain material. I don't know if I 100% agree with that. First of all, if you want to hear what Earth AD would sound like with Googie, just listen to the Pit demos. Those Pit songs, that tape I was talking about in the part 1 of this 2-parter episode, which is really part 3 and 4 of the only Jerry secret history. That's Googie. That's Googie practicing the songs. That's Googie doing Earth AD songs. Or just listen to Googie do it live with the band. I mean, it's really not. I mean, that's not that much of a mystery. Truly, it ain't a mystery, baby, not to me. And then, does it make a little sense in retrospect as a transition to Glenn's Samhain material? I don't know, man. If you listen, when you listen to those that first Samhain album, man, that's something to do. Listen to Earth AD and then listen to Initium and try and see the continuation. Devilman has always said that really each band is just a progression of Glenn Danzig's songwriting. So the Misfits, they all have the same instrumentation. It's guitar, bass, and drums with Glenn fronting the band. And so in a way, it's always just been an evolution of the Glenn Danzig fronted band. First is the Misfits, then is Samhain, then is Danzig. And you most certainly can hear the transition from Samhain to Danzig in those 4 Samhain Grim tracks that are on Final Descent. You hear that early Twist of Cain, you hear that early Possession, you hear Twist of Cain, Possession, Final Descent, and Trouble. Those songs with London May drumming. It's still London May drumming, but John Christ on guitar. And that you could hear, wow, that's how they transitioned right into Danzig in 1987. 87 was a transition year for Glenn musically as he's working with Rick Rubin. But in 83 is also a transitional year where I guess, maybe that Earth AD material sort of undergoes a gothic transformation. And that's how you get Black Dream. Here's the question. Could you imagine Black Dream on Earth AD? Could you imagine Macabre on Earth AD? If I had to take a guess, and again, you know who could fucking clear that up? Steve Zing. Steve Zing would know. Maybe I should text him. Steve Zing would probably be able to answer when Macabre was written. And then to ask him, hey, Steve, was Macabre like, kind of like the same vibe that, say, some of those Earth AD tracks were, right? So it's like I could imagine maybe Glenn's going for that slow atmospheric vibe of Macabre and then turbocharged those Samhain songs so that they matched the other 5 Samhain songs, you know? But I don't know. Again, all speculation. I'm just talking out of my ass. I don't fucking know. Just nerding out. What else do you have on? All Murder, All Guts, All Fun. Would that be? Could I imagine that on Earth AD? Maybe more on like the Die Die My Darling EP, which is actually not Earth AD material. It's Walk Among Us material that's sort of mixed more like Earth AD, if anything. What else? What else would match? I guess maybe Black Dream. Brim Black Dream. I could imagine. I don't want it. I don't need that tune. No, 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 no. You could almost imagine Black Dream being like turbo boosted to sort of appear on something like Earth AD. What about Macabre? Macabre spirit sped up. Spiritus, succubus, life is pain. But imagine that like Earth AD style. All right. Challenge for any band out there to go out there and fucking record Initium tracks like their Earth AD songs. Hey, John, Voice of Doom, I fucking challenge you. I fucking challenge you to do that. Record Macabre. Record Samhain. Wait a minute. Let's think about that. Boom, Salt the dead. You close the veil. To change your shapes is alone on us. Autumn goes, brings the pagan death. Who seek the war above the Samhain fire? No, man, that would never be on Earth AD. It's too slow. It's too like the I don't know what you would call it. What do you call it when the drums? It's just a different tempo or whatever. It's just not. I couldn't imagine Robo playing that. Boom, bum, 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 bum. It's just no, it's different, man. That's fucking different. Samhain is different, and Samhain was written in I think 83, right? The song Samhain. Archangel's the earliest track. Okay, Archangel is a good look at that. You know, you think about Archangel. Could Archangel have fit on Earth AD? There's no mention of Archangel when they're recording Earth AD. There's no talk about, hey, let me take some of these Samhain songs. When Glenn is deciding what's going to go on Earth AD, he's not going, should I put Archangel on there too? Would Archangel have fit? Where would it have gone? If anything, I guess I would make that the ending track. Yeah, Jonathan James says it's tribal. Jonathan James also says, I always felt like a lot of the Legacy of Brutality re-recorded versions of those Misfits songs had a real Samhain vibe. You know what? It's been a minute since I listened to Legacy of Brutality. I'm going to go back and check that out. I mean, I guess that would make sense. He recorded them while he was in Samhain, right? He was firmly in Samhain when he re-recorded that guitar, those guitar and those bass drums. So this is wow, but this is cool, man. Even, I mean, this is totally Jerry's sort of thing. So Jerry is really talking about Motorhead and Ace of Spades. I mean, those guys were firmly planted in metal when they were doing Earth AD. It's punk. It's hardcore punk inspired by heavy metal. That's what Earth AD is. Think about that. Think about that concept for a second. In the way that Metallica or whoever is influenced by Earth AD, that's metal that's influenced by hardcore punk, right? So in a way, Earth AD partially is sonically, and man, I guess Jerry and Doyle must have their imprint if they're making that shit super fucking speedy fast. Amy, you say yep. I don't know what you're saying yep to, but I want to know. Whoops, that's Marty. Marty says, I think Archangel was a demo given to Dave Vanian to sing. It was, but Archangel was for a side project, was for a Samhain side project. I don't know if he had the name Samhain back then. When did Halloween 2 come out? Because that's when I think Glenn first latched on to doing Samhain, right? That's when Glenn was like, this shit's really cool. You know, let me see. Halloween 2, the night. Yeah. Okay, so that's at 81. I think that's when Glenn gets the idea to use Samhain as a band name. At some point, he sees Halloween sometime in 81 or 82, Halloween 2, and it's like, what is Samhain? Oh, Amy is saying metal and punk are close cousins. They sure are, man. They sure are. So in a way, Earth AD is metal, is hardcore punk inspired by metal. It's just crazy how that gets reinterpreted through the brain of the musician. Jerry only says, oh, Amy also says, early Slayer and Circle Jerks. I agree with that too. I would definitely agree with that a little bit for sure. Marty says, oh, whoops. Jonathan says, Jerry and Doyle were into goofy metal, not thrash type stuff. Yes, but that's my point, is that thrash type stuff, I mean, that goofy metal, like the goofy metal, like, is basically influences it. What's the word I'm thinking of? I'm spacing on the word I want to use. It doesn't inflect. It imposes. Yeah, I guess impose. It informs. That's the word I want to use. The goofy metal informs hardcore, and the result is Earth AD. That's part of it, a little bit. Glenn brings Samhain songs, and those guys in their goofy metal phase inform those songs Earth AD. That's it. All right, moving on. Jerry only says, well, the reason that it's lost is because he lost the basic tracks. The basic tracks got overswamped with all the extra. Mike Stacks. Yeah, there are all these guitar tracks and shit, but the bass and the drums are way back there. Jerry only, right. That's the problem. The problem was, okay, Glenn fell, ... Who's this guy? He's got a headband. He's got a Misfits t-shirt on. Mark Rude. Oh, that's Mark Rude. So here's the guy. So Mark Rude, who used to wear a Mad Max Road Warrior jacket, did the cover for Earth AD. It took him a year to do that cover. Mad Mark Rude, I believe there's a documentary about him somewhere. He passed away, man. I would have loved to have heard his like whole, look how long that devil lock is, man. That's just from growing. Look how long that fucking thing goes down. I don't know if you could see with my little like etch a sketch here. God, the thing's fucking long. Long, not wrong. It's long. Mark Rude and Jerry in discussion, San Diego, 1992. So Jerry says, right, that's the problem. The problem was, okay, Glenn fell asleep because we had just done 2 shows. So, all right, this is a little bit of a load of horse pucky, a little bit. I'm sorry, Uncle Jerry. Don't get mad. You know what I'm talking about, Uncle Jerry. You know what I'm talking about. He says, Glenn fell asleep because we had just done 2 shows, Whiskey and Al's Bar. Me, like I said, after I play, I get ecstatic. Right, you get ecstatic. I'm in outer space. It brings me to life. We went and recorded. We recorded the whole album, one take after the other, just banged them because we were playing all night. I was never so loose in my life. I stood there in a pair of shorts. We put Robo in the middle, my amps facing one side, Doyle's facing out the other, and me and Doyle stood right in front of the drum kit, watching each other while we were playing. And we played into this live room, no padding at all. And the tracks came out so good. I said to him later on, Glenn, I don't even really like this shit, but we just kicked its ass. I said, not for nothing, but you got it. If that's what you wanted, it's on that tape. And that's how good it was. He didn't mix it until after. Yeah, there you go. He didn't mix it until after the band broke up. And when I heard it afterwards, I wanted to cry because he ruined it. Wow. All right. So again, let's fuck this Earth AD tangent is going on way longer than I intended it to, but it's just too good. It's just too spicy of a meatball not to talk about. So all right, this is great. Yeah, I think Jerry was stimulated. Jerry was stimulated. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that he was, but This is I mean, this is so cool. We recorded the whole album, one take after the other, just banged them out because we were playing all night. That's right. So they played 2 live shows. They are loose. I was never so loose in my life. I mean, they're all warmed up. I stood there in a pair of shorts. We put Robo in the middle. So Robo's in the middle. My amp's facing one side and Doyle's facing the other. So they have this room. You have 1 amp here and you have 1 amp here. Just minimize that. Look, you have 1 amp here and you have 1 amp here facing each other. So that's why the sound just bleeds in. You have Jerry's bass bleeding into Doyle's guitar, and then you have Robo weaving it together with his drums, right? And then he says this, which I think is so telling. And me and Doyle stood right in front of the drum kit, watching each other while we were playing. So they're watching each other while they're playing, while Robo's there. That's why it sounds so good. It doesn't matter because, when those guys are playing live, they're not looking at what they're doing. They're probably watching each other for the changes. Like Doyle, you know what that is? That's the element that they need for the recipe. The secret ingredient is the coordination between Jerry and Doyle, probably locking eyes and like playing in such synchronicity. It's not like they're on stage and there's a bunch of hardcore kids like rushing them and like bumping into them and stuff. It's just like they're in the room, they're locked in, they're super loose, they're concentrated, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're completely simpatico. And that is how you get the sound of Earth AD. And then apparently the mix is stepped on by Glenn, but it sounded even better. And you know what? I fucking believe that. I believe what Jerry's saying there. And I'm sure Glenn would never admit it, because Glenn, how could Glenn be wrong if it all comes from his head, Amy says Nina Hagen, monk knock is not gnarly punk, but she's considered the queen of punk because she encompassed the movement, be fucking unique and have no boundaries. People at shows used to bleed out on the scene. That's what comes through the guitar. The blood remains. Kenny says Robo was the Misfits drummer, in my humble opinion. Robo's a great drummer, man, but not for nothing. You know who fucking would have killed that material? I believe it, dollars to donuts. I think Mr. Jim could have fucking, it would be so weird to hear him do that because that's just so not his style of playing. I think Mr. Jim could have fucking done it. Mr. Jim could play fast as fuck. I think he would just fucking crush it. So yeah, there's that. I wish we could have heard those original, the raw tapes of Earth AD. We'll never get to hear them. Maybe we will. Maybe there's some mix down tape that's locked off. You would imagine they got a mix down tape of that stuff. Maybe that's what is secretly exists. I don't know. Mike Stack says the Die My Darling 12-inch. Did that come out after the band broke up? Here's okay. Wait, we're just gonna look at this one comment. Jerry's off on the tour info. The show he's referring to are from Spring '82 tour with Googie. You're right, because Al's Bar was the last time they played. Wow. And then they did the first Earth AD session while on tour in October once Robo joined the band, according to Mark Kennedy. Yeah, you might. I guess you're right about that, because why would Googie's last show was Al's Bar? Huh. And they did the whiskey with him too. Did they do the whiskey with Robo as well? Maybe. I don't know. Mike Stacks, the Die My Darling 12-inch. Did that come out after the band broke up? Jerry only. Yeah, it was recorded, I think, at the same time we were with Robo in that room. That is wrong. That's not true. Those tracks, maybe We Bite. Does Robo play on We Bite? Who plays on We Bite? Who plays on We Bite and who plays on well, shit. Let's do a little digging, shall we? All right. We're going on an investigative mission, people. Hold on. Let's find this out. Ready? Boom. The one and only. All right. Let's do some deep diving. Let's see what Misfit Central says. We're going to find out right now who did. All right. We have recording sessions. What are we looking for? We're looking for Die My Darling, but DI. Okay. Let's go down. I don't know if you can't really see it that well. Okay, wow. So We Bite does come from We Bite was in 1983. We Bite is 1982. All right. So that is Glenn's doing guitar. So that's like a guitar overdubs session, vocal session. So October 3, 1982, they do an instrumental of Earth AD, We Bite, Daemonomania, Wolf's Blood, the instrumental, Queen Wasp, Devilock, Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight. That's at Santa Monica. That's with Robo on the drums. So Robo plays on We Bite, and he plays on Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight, the studio version. However, Die Die My Darling comes from, where does it come from? Die Die My Darling is from 1982 with Googie. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. That's from 1981. Look at that. You guys can't see this. It's too small, maybe. So Die Die My Darling is from 81 with Googie, but it doesn't come out until 1984. Holy shit. Yeah, this stuff, if you go through this will really blow your mind. There's a lot of interesting information on here. And this shows all the different things. So this is Spot, Rutherford, New Jersey, Robo on drums. Yeah, see, they're prepping. Huh. This recording session was stored on two 16-track tapes. The first tape included previously recorded songs 1 through 7. That's from October 3rd, 1982, and June 1983. And the second included songs 8 through 11. At this session, the band added vocals and extra instrumentation to song 1 through 7 and recorded tracks 8 through 11 for the first time. So Death Comes Ripping, Green Hell, Blood Feast, and Hellhound. So these are the 4 Samhain songs. I was fucking right. I was right about that shit. How about that? I pulled that out of my ass. I was really not sure about myself. I bet you, yeah, man. Those are because we know that Death Comes Ripping is a Samhain song. We know that Blood Feast is, and they played both of those in Samhain. And Green Hell, yeah, man. Green Hell is in Hellhound. And then Die Die My, wow, this fucking blew my mind. According to Danzig, Die Die My Darling was taken from the Walk Among Us sessions, right, and remixed to sound like the other tracks from the session. The extended version of Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight from Collection 1 in the cassette release of Earth AD ends with an extra second of feedback. Oh, yeah, that's really extended. Collection 2 includes a version of We Bite with the 1, 2, 3, 4 introduction edited out. My God. So there you have it, folks. There you have it. So Robo plays on up. I wasn't even looking. Thanks, buddy. I didn't even see that. Oops. Yeah. So Robo's playing on We Bite. He plays on Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight? And so Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight is both a Walk Among Us song, but it's also an Earth AD song if you think about it, in terms of like they recorded both of those times. And then We Bite is for sure a Earth AD track. They just left it off. They left it off of Earth AD initially. Left it off of Earth AD, right? Wow. All right, back to the. We'll if we need this again, we'll open this up. Well, shit on a shingle, Christ on a cracker. There we go. Okay. We're going to get through this, people, because I'm not doing a part 5 of this fucking thing. Yeah, it was recorded, I think, at the same time we were with Robo in that room. So, but he's not referring to Die Die My Darling. He's talking about the other songs. Mike Stacks, because that has a much better sound than Earth AD. Jerry Only. Oh, yeah. I think it had more of the original sound to it. So that's interesting. Without all the bullshit, you can hear the difference. So if you want to listen or have any kind of idea as to what maybe the original Earth AD sounded like before meddling in the studio from Glenn or anything, just listen to the Die Die My Darling 12-inch and those tracks and what they sound like. This is where vinyl rips come in such hand. They come in handy. Another great example, Pete Damian Marshall. You can't hear any of his fucking guitar on CDs, man. You can only hear his guitar work if you, well, maybe not for November Coming Fire, but definitely for Unholy Passion, the original vinyl rips. That's the only way you're going to hear Damien on Samhain tracks. Marty asks, how come the Misfits may be the best band to devolve as far as musicianship is concerned? And it makes complete sense for what they became after Mr. Jim. I don't know, man. I don't know, but they do it well. They really do. But could you imagine Mr. Jim playing Earth AD shit? It would just be crazy. It would just be a crazy situation. I don't know, man. I could just talk so passionately about the Misfits forever. I don't know why that is, but I can. I could do it about the Beatles too. You think this? For all the stuff I talk about the Misfits, I could equally talk about the Beatles, if not more. I'm a Beatles historian. I could motherfucking profess a Beatles college course if I so wanted to. I take pride in that. And don't you dare say the Beatles fucking suck. I just don't even want to hear it. I don't want to fucking hear it. I hate that edge shit. It's a fucking fact that they were great. Whatever. Don't argue with me. Oh yeah, I think it had more of that original sound without all the bullshit. You can hear the difference. I don't even know if maybe Jerry doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe that's just like, maybe he's just saying that to move on to the next question. Who knows? Mike Stacks. So when you were doing Earth AD, the band was basically starting to break up. Tell me how the breakup happened. Okay, here we go. We're going into the breakup. Jerry only. Well, the breakup happened because Glenn wanted to be the boss. The thing is, there is no boss. We were a team. Glenn would book the shows. I would pay the money to get us there, okay? He would manage it, but I would produce the band. If the guy with the money is the producer, you know what I mean? In other words, he'd say, we're going to play here, we're going to play there. I would do all the mailings, all the T-shirts, all that, all the kind of shit like that out of my company. Basically, the money was my end of the deal and the performance and the getting the shit done. Oh, we need a stage. We need a van. We need this. We need that. I made everything go. I was the wheels of the whole project. I believe that. I truly believe that. I believe that Jerry was like a producer of things. He was a facilitator. Glenn would, figure that out, the booking, and Jerry would figure out how to make it happen. Really was teamwork. So what happened was Robo split. When we came back off the last tour with Robo, what happened was my mom said Robo's nearly as old as I am. What? So what happened was Robo split. When we came back off the last tour with Robo, what happened was my mom said Robo's nearly as old as I am. I really don't want him living by my house. Oh, I see. So Robo was crashing because Glenn probably got sick of having him in the basement at 49 MacArthur. So Robo, crashed at the Kayafa residence, and Jerry's mom said Robo is as old as I am. So that Robo was much older than Jerry. I really don't want him living by my house. And then he laughs. I wasn't about to argue with her because the thing was, we just put up a whole bunch of bands like Black Flag and Social Distortion. Anybody that was fucking in town wound up at my house. I had a pool and a basketball court and the whole deal. So you could park your bus in my backyard and spend the whole week if you have to. No problem. The thing was, Robo went to live by Glenn. Glenn wasn't booking any shows like he was supposed to, and Robo kind of got a little bored by that. The way I picture it is, Glenn invited Robo to be in the band to move out from California. The band should pay his fucking room and board. That's my opinion. Like if I call you up, hey, Mike, want to play drums in my band? And you get out here and I don't book any shows and I want to charge you rent. Now that's pretty fucking stupid. So he started being a jerk to Robo. Huh. So Glenn got sick. Glenn got sick of having Robo by his house. And then Robo eventually went to live with Jerry, but Jerry's mom got sick of that because she was having all these bands stay at the house. That's that Lodi hospitality, the gregarious Lodi hospitality. Jeff Pierce says there's some good Beatles stuff on the same podcast. I guess he's referring to the one with Spot. Okay, I will keep that in mind. Jerry says he would have Robo. Oh no, what happened? We lost it. We fucking lost it. There we go. He would have Robo ... waiting for the next part, waiting for the next part. Oh no, I did it again. Why do I keep doing that? Hold on. Just a second. I'm glad we did, man. I would have rushed through this. And we wouldn't have had the wonderful chance to pour over. God damn it. Stupid fucking computer. It says stupid. Here, let me try this. Maybe that will help. Okay. Just gently. Yeah, I wanted to make this. Mrs. Kayafa, fucking saint. Yeah, man. You're spelling that name wrong, though. It's like Canada. You got to put the A's where the A's are in Canada. That's how you spell Kayafa, as I've learned. Coolest lady ever. I think so. For a mom who just like totally like, indulged her children to being creative and supported their dream. I mean, I bet that mama was so proud when her kids played Madison Square Garden, sold out, all that fucking, all that encouragement, man. I can tell you, as a father of a 5-year-old boy, I pray and hope that if my son is artistic, that I can be as supportive as I possibly can to him and his dreams, whatever they may be. As I remember what it was like having my own dreams and, wanting that same support. So Glenn would have Robo sit down. So Glenn's putting him to work in his basement. Glenn would have Robo sit down and glue 45 sleeves. Glenn would have Robo sit down and glue 45 sleeves. Glenn was a stickler at saving 2 cents. I told him, hey, listen, I work 12 hours a day. I build my own equipment. I practice with the band. I make sure the band knows what they're playing. I don't have time to glue 45 sleeves. I don't care what you're saving. You don't want to pay to have them done that way. Then you glue them. Ha, ha, ha. So he had Rubu glue 45 sleeves. He's saying 45 sleeves, like 45 record sleeves. And first you have to cut them out. They weren't even cut out. So Robo eventually said, hey, fuck this. All I want is money for beer every night. Because Robo would drink a 6-pack and watch TV and then go to bed. So Glenn wouldn't give him any money. And then he started hassling him about paying rent. This is honest. This is real. Like, you can't, like, if I had to put this through my bullshit meter, like, this is the truth. Like, there's no agenda for Jerry at the moment. He's not doing the Misfits. He's in a lawsuit with Glenn. He's going to speak so like candidly and frank about the situation. This is too funny. Marty says, well, the brothers should have found a new singer and drummer and started writing Christ the Conqueror, American Psycho back in 1984, or kept Robo. Saw a trailer for a movie about Robo or something. Have you seen it? Yeah, there's a movie about Robo coming out that looks really great. I really do want to check it out. We should definitely, I'll post that trailer at some point. Support Robo. I never met Robo, but I did meet his son, who grew up in Vernon, and his, he grew up with Jerry's kids. Jerry told my buddy back in 89, 90 that Robo worked. He worked at Pro Edge. He worked at Pro Edge for the rest of the 80s, man. He met a woman and they had their son, Vinny. And Vinny was good friends with Jerry Jr., Jerry Other. And and then, eventually Robo got back in the band through Jerry's Misfits, with Dez. Jerry, Robo, and Dez were going out touring. But this is so funny. I gotta read this one more time because it's so fucking great. It's just so great because just imagine Glenn gets Robo, puts him up, puts him to work because he's just like, and it's funny, someone recently posted about how like Glenn knows Glenn is able to tell what's a bootleg and what's not because he hand glued things himself, right? He literally was talking about it in a clip from the Verotic premiere. Someone brought an Evilive 7-inch for him to sign. He turns it over, looks at it for 2 seconds, goes, "Yep, this is an original." And I guess that's because he's looking for certain markers, meaning like he knows when something is glued the right way, or glued the wrong way for that matter. Is it ready? So Glenn was a stickler at saving 2 cents. I told him, "Hey, listen, I work 12 hours a day. I build my own equipment. I practice with the band and make sure the band knows what they're playing. I don't have time to glue 45 sleeves. I don't care what you're saving. You don't want to pay to have them done that way, then you glue them." So he had Robo. So instead of doing it himself, he's like, all right. He's like, "All right, Jerry." And he turns to Robo. He's like, "Robo, glue those sleeves." He's just making Robo glue sleeves in his basement. And all Robo wants is a 6-pack. Robo's just like, "Give me a 6-pack." And like, he'll be happy with a 6-pack watching TV, and then he just goes to bed. Like he's a pet drummer or something. Give him a 6-pack, let him watch TV, and then he'll go to bed. Because Robo would drink. So Glenn wouldn't give him any money. And then he started hassling him about, "Hey, Robo, you got to pay rent too." Uncle Glenn. So grumpy. It's not even Glenn's house. That's the funny. So 2 things come to mind when I hear that. One, Glenn's mother and father, who I don't know anything about Glenn's mother and father. I would imagine that they're incredibly generous, like the Caiaphas, in the sense that I've heard some stories about just them being very hospitable. I don't think that Glenn's parents are going, "Hey, Glenn, Robo needs to pay rent," because Glenn's got the basement. So he's, and again, I don't know. We're just talking. This is all spitballing, speculation. I don't fucking know. I really don't know. So Glenn's already living in his parents' house. So then Glenn turns around. And goes, "You have to pay rent to live here." He's like, "You're drumming in my band, and this is what you do for a living, but you have to pay rent." So Glenn wouldn't give him any money, and then he started hassling him about paying rent. Then Robo came to work for me, and he was making a paycheck. But when he went home at night, he didn't want to see a 45 sleeve. And Glenn, I didn't realize how jealous he really was of everybody, but it really rubbed him the wrong way that Robo was able to say, "Here, you want $50 for rent? Here's $50. Leave me alone. I'm not gluing sleeves." You follow what I mean? So, okay. So Glenn is bothering him about rent, but Robo doesn't have money for rent, and he's not giving Robo money. So he's going, "Okay, here, Robo, take these 45 sleeves, glue them together." He's making Robo cut out the sleeves and glue them together. And then Robo's like, "Fuck this Glenn." He's like, "Fuck this Glenn. I'm going to live with Jerry and Doyle." He like runs off to go live with Jerry and Doyle. And then he goes to work for Jerry and Doyle, and then he has the $50, and that rubs Glenn the wrong way. Robo gluing sleeves for records he didn't even play on. Yeah, I mean, I guess because Earth AD didn't come out until the band breaks up, so Robo hasn't played on that. So Robo's gluing sleeves for records he didn't even play on. And Robo gets his face smashed in the Brain Eaters video. Yes, he does. I mean, Robo was the butt of a lot of jokes. Robo, they bury his face in the thing. They did it without him knowing. He did it. They just smushed his face. We kind of talked about that. Go back to the 1983 interview. By the way, guys, this is a trilogy of interviews. We're going to do the 2003 interview next to see how Jerry has evolved. We heard Jerry in 1983, even though it was mainly Glenn talking. We're hearing Jerry now in 1993, and then we're going to hear Jerry in 2003. And if somebody can find it, find me an interview, a print interview of Jerry from 2013, so that we can say that we've gone through 40 years of Jerry interviews by the year 3 in the last digit of the date. I think that would be a lot of fun. All right, moving on. God, this is hilarious. I mean, nobody else would find this funny except for us. Kenny says, wasn't Glenn's dad a straight-laced Marine? Yeah, I mean, he was a Marine. I don't know how straight-laced he was. I think he worked in the post office. You know, from my understanding, from what I know, Glenn's parents were just like real sweethearts. They were just really sweet, nice people. I don't know anything about them, truthfully. I really, 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 really don't know. I really, 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 really don't know. Sorry, I was just looking at something on my phone. My bad. All right, sorry. Let me continue. So, and Glenn, I didn't realize how jealous he really was of everybody, but it really rubbed him the wrong way that Robo was able to say, here, you want $50 for rent? Here's $50. Leave me alone. I'm not gluing sleeves. So Robo was gluing sleeves because he didn't have rent money. And now he has the rent money. So he's giving the money to Glenn. Glenn's getting mad. So he kept picking on Robo, pushing him to fight him and shit. So Robo just came to me one day and said, listen, this guy's an asshole. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I like playing with you and Doyle, but this guy's just pushing me to my limit. I don't need this shit. I'm not getting paid. I said, well, Robo, I really don't blame you. So Robo got on a plane and split. Now, Robo did that. And 2 weeks after that, we had to play a show in Detroit for the Necros. Buddies of ours put on the show. They had gone out in the cold and hung up posters and whatever. Okay. Then 2 weeks after that, we were supposed to go to Germany for the Earth AD fucking tour. We were supposed to do a German album that Glenn was sending tapes to or some shit. We were supposed to go to Germany and make some big bucks. So what happens was, this is 4 weeks before I got to leave for Germany. Now I just can't walk out of my factory for a month without covering my ass. I can go for a month as long as no one needs anything I make. My factory still has to function. I ship about $10,000 a day. I can't go for 30 days and lose $10,000 shipping for 30 days. That's $300,000 fucking dollars for me to go to Germany. You know what I'm saying? Ha ha ha. So I told him, listen, Glenn, if Robo's splitting, I think maybe you better apologize to him and ask him to hang, because I don't have the time. By covering my ass, it's going to take me a month to cover my ass for a month. So he's saying that he needs another month just to cover his ass for another month. Bottom line is, if you want to go away for 3 weeks, you got to make 3 weeks worth of parts. You got to cut and make those parts besides what you got to make anyway. So Glenn's all, oh, I'll find us a drummer. Let's put a pin in it just for a second right there. Maybe look at the Maximum Rock and Roll Jerry interview from 1994. Can you send that to me? Please send that over to me. But that's not, it doesn't end in a 3. I want the 2. All right, send it to me, because we'll look at it eventually when we run out of material. We'll look at that. That will be interesting, because that's the year when the Misfits are almost poised to return as the resurrected Misfits, you know. But send that to me if you would, please. So Metallica ripped the Misfits off by treating Newsted the way Glenn treated Robo. Ha ha ha. I don't know much about Metallica other than I know that Some Kind of Monster kind of is about Newsted leaving because he wanted to do a side project, right? And James Hetfield was like, no, you can't do that. You have to stay here. And then they go to therapy, which is probably the most unmetal thing. The Misfits therapy is, Robo, you better make some more 45 sleeves, you motherfucker. You know? All right, so this is interesting. Hold on, let's go back here for a minute. There's a lot of information here, right? And again, this is 10 years removed from the incident, and I think this is pretty, I mean, again, like, you really, like, the reason why this is such an important landmark interview is that it's just like an unbiased Jerry, just sort of like, you know, doing the thing, you know, just doing his thing. Just explaining everything. So Glenn is being mean to Robo because it doesn't like that Robo has $50 to pay him. Robo says, hey, I'm tired of being treated like shit. I'm going to leave. Now here's the interesting shit. Ready? So, okay. This is what I wanted to mention. So the flip side of this is that Glenn went to Henry Rollins at the Santa Monica Civic Center show over the summer of '83 that they did with Black Flag, which was the largest show that they had done. And he told Henry that I'm leaving the Misfits. So unbeknownst to Jerry and Doyle, So Jerry's telling this side of his story, but he doesn't know that maybe this is why the shows aren't really being booked anymore, or Glenn's not so concerned about booking shows anymore as much because he's thinking about leaving the band. But maybe it's not concrete yet, because at some point there's a Germany deal, and and that's where I believe that's where Wolf's Blood comes from. But even in 1993, Jerry doesn't really understand what Wolf's Blood is, it seems, because he's saying here, he says, we're supposed to go to Germany for the Earth AD tour, but there was supposed to be a German album that Glenn was sending the tapes to or some shit. It sounds like he doesn't really know what's up, what's going on. Who knows? Maybe he did. But Glenn sent those tapes, and those tapes were the Earth AD tapes, and those tapes never returned. And that's why we can't have like a remixing of Earth AD. It just doesn't exist unless there's some mixtape out there floating around in the ether, which, I mean, I hope someday, I hope someday we get to see that. And that they're going to make some big bucks. So they are planning to go to Germany for Earth AD. They have an album, so even if Glenn is telling Henry, I'm planning on leaving, I want to leave the Misfits, at some point, there must not be like completely like concrete yet, because they're going to fucking go to Germany. They're going to support the Earth AD album. And then Jerry's going, I can't just walk out of my factory for a month. And you hear the Glenn side is like, oh, all they ever wanted to do was work for their dad because they broke all their gear and spent all their money on drugs. Now, again, somewhere in the middle is the truth. Did Jerry and Doyle, or just Jerry, break all the gear and spend a lot of money on drugs or on cocaine or whatever it is that they may or may not have been doing? Possibly. And Glenn's like, well, no, the only thing I want to do is be a musician and uncompromising in that aspect. So I'm not going to work a straight job. Because the thing is, and I can tell you as a guy who creates art on some level and works a straight job, and has a family, you got to work a fucking straight job. You got to fucking work a straight job. Oh, here we go. We also, BWM says, and Canada show was canceled. Okay. So there you go. But when you work a straight job, when you have a family or when you have obligations, you got to work a straight job. Glenn has no family. Glenn has nothing. Glenn only has his dream. Nothing stands in his way. Jerry, I don't know if Jerry was Jerry's girl was pregnant by then, but at some point while he was in the Misfits, I believe he had his daughter, right? Didn't he have his daughter? His daughter's born in Kathy or something. She's born in 1982. So Jerry got married pretty early, and then that's when they left the Kayaffa house. They moved out to Vernon, and by that point, Jerry has a family while he's doing the band thing and working in the factory, and he's responsible for a lot of shit. And so he's talking. So there's that aspect too. So is it all just like Jerry working for his dad because he's got a bunch of broken gear and whatnot, and this, that, and the other? And on the flip side is Jerry saying, Glenn doesn't want to book shows and doesn't want to do anything. I got to make sure that my ass is covered if I'm going to go and do this tour. There's the truth is in somewhere in between the two of those things. Where was I when I pinned in it? Okay. So by covering my ass, it's going to take me a month to cover my ass for a month. It's going to take me a month to cover my ass for a month. So it's an additional month. Bottom line is, if you want to go away for 3 weeks, you got to make 3 weeks worth of parts. You got to cut and make those parts besides what you got to make. Anyway, so Glenn's all, okay, I'll find us a drummer. So Glenn is now tasked with going to find a drummer. So no drummer starts coming around, and I tell him, hey, listen, Googie said he'll play the drums. Hey, listen, Googie said he'll play the gigs, but he wants to get paid. At this point, Googie is involved, or shortly thereafter, Googie's involved with a band called Antidote, and he's going by Bliss, which is a horror Christian name. And they put out an EP called Thou Shall Not Kill, and they even did a show with the Misfits when Robo was the drummer, right? That was Googie. Googie was on drums, I guess. That was 1983. I don't know why didn't they just ask Todd Swallow to do it? Why, maybe why didn't they go back to Harley Flanagan and say, hey, Harley, you want to come? And I mean, Harley's an incredible hardcore drummer. He would have been fucking great. He would have filled Robo's shoes just fine. Didn't do it. Why didn't they get fucking Steve Zing? Why didn't they get Erie? I mean, they feel like they did have some options here, and they just didn't. Erie wanted to focus on Rosemary's Babies. Steve is doing Morning Noise. Harley's doing Cro-Mags. And Googie wants to get paid for the gigs. If he's coming to Germany, he wants his cut, and he wants it every night, which is fair. Googie got screwed over once before, but he didn't want to play with Googie. He said, I'd rather not play in this band if I got to play with Googie. I said, okay, but if you get a drummer, you work him in, because I don't have time, because Jerry's double time. Jerry is overdriving now. He's trying to make enough parts so that he's covering his ass for the 3 weeks that he's going to be gone, so he doesn't lose any money. And he's leaving it up to Glenn. Glenn, work in the new guy, so that way we can go off and do these tours. Tony says, a book called American Hardcore by Steve Blush or something like that has a little interview in the book with a woman. I forget her name. She says the Misfits were definitely not straight edge. I'm sure they partied. Stephen Blush is in this documentary. I interviewed him for this documentary. So you can hear Stephen Blush talk about the Misfits, the author of American Hardcore. You can hear him talk about the Misfits in this movie whenever the fuck it gets released. God damn, it's going to take a long time, but it's fucking coming. It is fucking coming. Or 1979 will come before that. So Jerry's like, okay, but if you get a drummer, you work them in, because I don't have the time. And there's no way if I tell you that, hey, the bass player and the guitarist have to go to work to cover their ass, you got to break. Wait, what? Fuck. Let's take that again. Sorry, people. And there's no way if I tell you that, hey, the bass player and the guitarist have got to work to cover their ass, you got to break the drummer in. How are you going to do it realistically? Right. He's basically saying because he has to go, they have to go and go to work. How are they going to, like, who's going to play guitar? Who's going to play bass? I guess Glenn could play fucking guitar and just have a drum player play the drums, guitar and drums. Now, here's the flip side of this. Jerry's saying, you got to break him in. You got to get us a drummer. You would think that, like, Jerry, for, being as integral into the operation as possible, whether he has time for it or not, or maybe he's relying on Glenn for teamwork, but you would think that Jerry would be like, okay, like, we gotta, all of them together have to be there to fucking break in the drummer. The Misfits have a history of this, especially after 83. There were so many times where they would just fucking, they wouldn't be present. There were times where there was one, like, for instance, when Mike Hideous took over for Michael Graves. Michael Graves wanted to go play hockey. Apparently, he wanted to go play hockey for a hockey camp when Jerry had booked some tours. And you know what's funny? Everything that happened between Michael Graves and Jerry is so indicative of everything that happened here with Glenn and with the drummer and whatnot. Because once again, here's a singer telling Jerry, oh, I'm going to go play hockey. I'm not going to go do this tour of South America or Europe, the big money tours from the Misfits in 1998. And especially when they had spent all of 1997 on the road, and now here they are, they have a little R&R, and Jerry's going, hey, Michael Graves, get your act together. We're going on tour again. And Michael Graves is like, fuck you. I'm going to go play hockey. And Jerry's like, fuck me. You're not going to listen. I once fucking, before I had a England tour blow up in my face, I had a Germany tour blow up in my face. You think I'm not going to South America where we have like the biggest crowds waiting for us? Fuck you. I'll get a new singer. And his name is Mike too. And so Jerry gets a new singer. He gets Mike Hideous to come into the band. Mike Hideous is famous from a band called the Empire Hideous, which is a goth band from New Jersey. There's a documentary about him called Living the American Nightmare, directed by this guy, Paul Bazile. Although Paul took the documentary in a completely different direction. If you watch it, it's kind of it's a bit of a mess. It's not focused. It should be focused on Mike. And instead it just goes into all this stuff about New Jersey, and nobody knew what they were fucking doing. Some people thought it was a documentary about bands from New Jersey. Some people thought it was about horror punk. Some people thought it was about Mike Hideous. Nobody knew what was going on. That documentary fell apart, but they talked about all this stuff in the documentary. And so a lot of people that were interviewed for that documentary are in my documentary too, including Mike Hideous. Mike Hideous is in my documentary. Rocky's in my documentary. All these guys. Point being is that Jerry at this point is like, fuck this shit. I've already dealt with this shit in the past. It caused the band to break up. You think I'm not going to I'm going to just replace you. So when they're replacing him, and this is my point, it's like, Jeff, this is such a long, crazy tangent. I know, but this is my point, is that when they're rehearsing Mike Hideous, it's just Jerry and Mike Hideous. Doyle is not there and Chud is not there. They're both nowhere to be seen. So who do they bring in? They bring in Jason Trioxin. Jason Trioxin plays guitar because Jason was friends with Jerry and had roadied or was going to roadie for Doyle at some point. I don't remember when or who or where or how. So, this is your new singer and you're not going to or your temporary singer, whatever they thought, because at the time, Mike Hideous thought he was going to be the new singer of the Misfits, thought Michael Graves was going to be out forever. It was Doyle and Chud who was like, you got to get Michael Graves back. We don't want this guy in the band. And Mike Hideous had no idea. Mike Hideous thought he was writing a new album for the band. So he got really fucked over. He got burned bad in that situation. Well, that's one way of looking at it. Maybe you can also look at it as, hey, got to sing for his favorite band. Misfits were his favorite band. Mike Hideous was friends with Jerry and Doyle through the 80s and did work for the Fiend Club and the Doyle Fiend Club and was a big Samhain guy. I don't know. But the point is that you're getting a new drummer. Glenn's getting a new drummer. You're tasking Glenn with breaking in the drummer when the drummer needs to be cohesive with the guitar player and the bass player. That doesn't make any sense on that side of things. And then the flip side of that is hey, we're an independent band. I'm funding the band. The only way that I can fund the band is with this job. The only way that I can do this job is or cover my job is to make sure I have enough inventory for the time that I'm going to be gone. And you can't understand it. It's like the two guys can't understand each other's point of view. If we ain't going to sit there and spend time, there's no way that Glenn, with his limited playing ability, can. So here you go. Okay. It's like I either answer the question or I ask a question. The question gets answered for me ahead of the fucking, I just got to keep reading and we find out more stuff is revealed. BWM says, my bad, 1995, not 1994, best I can do. Cool, man. Thank you. I'll take a look at that. I will read that. Thank you for that. Find something from 2013 that's interesting. We'll tackle that too. It has to be 2013. So here's where Jerry is just once again talking about Glenn's limited playing ability, which also kind of lines up with actions. What are the actions? The actions are that why the Misfits were never a three-piece, except for when Glenn was on a keyboard, right? So Glenn, and that's a keyboard. That's not a fucking guitar. Whenever it comes to having a guitar, Glenn would rather have somebody else playing guitar than playing the guitar himself. If we ain't going to sit there and spend the time, there's no way that Glenn, with his limited playing ability, can teach a drummer how to play 35 fucking songs in 2 weeks. I bet you that's fucking true too. I bet you Jerry and Doyle would have been integral to facilitating that. So I told Glenn, I said, okay, Glenn, no problem. If this is the way you want to play it, then this is how we play it. You get the drummer. We'll practice like a week. We'll try and get as many practices. In as we can. We gave him the benefit of the doubt. You want to be an asshole? We'll try it your way. So what happened was we took the kid, this drummer, and we go all the way out to Detroit, 18-hour drive, and we go to open with 20 eyes, and the kid gets nervous and can't fucking keep on the beat through the whole song. We're playing in front of about 3,000 people and we look like jerks. So what do? Apparently he lasted 2 songs. So what did we do? Doyle walked over and tapped the kid on the shoulder and said, fucking go backstage. And we used the drummer from the Necros, Todd Swallow, and we did the whole set because Todd had toured with the Misfits for so long. I mean, they were the Misfits little baby brother band, right? Like the way that you have the MC5 and the Stooges, you have the Misfits and the Necros. And so, of course, Todd, being a fan, also knows all the fucking songs. So Todd steps behind the kid and they play what is their last show. Glenn has the pentagram on his chest. He's wearing the dog, the hound mask that he would later wear in Samhain. And that was it, man. That was the final show. He says, this is the last show. And he was happy fucking Halloween. This is the last show. And he claims there's 3,000 kids. If you look in the video, it doesn't look like there's 3,000 kids at Greystone Hall. I don't know what the capacity of Greystone Hall is. I don't even know if Greystone Hall is still around. But I mean, I don't know. So we just but me and Doyle, we just stepped back and sat on our top of our amps and let Glenn handle the whole fucking show by himself. You know what I mean? Because without every piece being there, you can't get the job done. If you got 4 wheels on your car and you take one off, how far do you go? Haha. You may get to the end of the block, but you're not going to go around the country. You wear it right down the fucking garbage within 100 miles. And that's what happened. So here he is putting all the blame on Glenn. But like, so if that's the case, then Jerry, why not? Why are you? It's almost like Jerry is snatching defeat. You know what I mean? Like, why not like be more vocal or be more? I know you said you had to work. He said he had to work. Uncle Jerry said he had to work. Still, I just feel like there's a little bit more responsibility on Jerry's side of the fence. Not to say Glenn is incredibly responsible. They're all responsible. They all got here by their own actions. You can't pull a drummer out of a band 2 weeks before a big show in Detroit and 4 weeks before a fucking tour of Germany and not being willing to deal with any old people who know your stuff. I mean, look what happened to fucking Doyle. Fucking Chud tried to extort him for money on the Doyle tour, and they fucking picked up the dude from TSOL, Tiny, who had been with TSOL for 10 years. And he did a good job, man, for learning those songs in like 36 hours. Tiny had 36 songs. And that show at Blackthorn in Queens, Black 51, whatever the hell it is, Blackthorn 51, where we did the rock and roll cooking episode. You've seen the Halloween episode. That was Tiny's like third show, on the tour. And he had just learned those songs like instantaneously. So I don't think it's impossible, but who knows? I don't know. We had to teach Googie 5 new songs. I couldn't have done that in 2 weeks. Glenn had to step down. Okay, so that's it. So he's saying if Googie had come in, they would have had to teach Googie 5 new songs. I could have done that. Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to understand what he's saying. And not being willing to deal with any old people who know your stuff. We had to teach Googie 5 new songs. I could have done that in 2 weeks. So if they had gotten Googie, they could have taught him the 5 new songs. He could have told me in Detroit, hey, you guys were fucking right. I was wrong. Call Googie. We still got 2 weeks. Let's go to Germany. So you're saying if after that show with his name was Brain Damage, he played literally 2 songs at the last Misfits show. He's the last official Misfits drummer. Probably played the least out of anybody in the original Misfits, even more so than of fill-in members like Rick Riley and Barry Ryan or Todd Swallow. Call Googie. We still got 2 weeks. Let's go to Germany. He said that Glenn had to step off his high horse and deal with Googie for the good of the band, but he wouldn't do it. He could have told, because by that point, Glenn's just like, fuck it, I'm going to do Samhain. He could have told me in Detroit, hey, you guys were fucking right. I was wrong. Call Googie. We've still got 2 weeks. Let's go to Germany. That's what he could have said. He couldn't even admit that he was wrong. So when I saw that his ego was more important to him than the safety of the band, I realized that he's a shitty leader. I said, Glenn, it's one thing to want to be the big guy. It's another thing if you suck at it. Ha, 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 ha. You don't make decisions based on emotional fucking opinions. That's true. If he would have come up with this kid and this kid would have fucking cranked, we probably would still be playing. Mike Stacks, did you ever get to rehearse with this kid? Jerry, yeah, I did what I could. I had a show coming up in Detroit and I wanted it to be good. I wanted to believe that it was going to be a good show. You know, you need that. You need to believe that you can succeed, and that's what makes you try it. But instead, it turned out to be your shittiest show ever. No, yeah, I would say some would say that is the case. Whew. I could not have done this. Could you imagine if I tried to fill all this in 15 minutes? Let me see here. Is this the last page? Oh, there's 2 more pages. It's never gonna end. That's okay. Chris says, we appreciate all you do, Jeff. Hey, thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you for showing up week after week. Marty says, Jerry put up so much money into the band. Doyle was a misfit before he could legally drive, but Jerry didn't get his name on the publishing, songwriting, licensing credits. I know nothing about the history, but licensing, songwriting credits, etc., were probably not something those kids knew all about. Did Jerry think the Misfits would last long term? I can't imagine being so invested in a band with that situation. But who knows, back then it would be the legacy that is. Yeah, but there were no contracts back then. They had no contracts. They just, Glenn had all the master tapes. Glenn had everything. Jerry didn't. As a matter of fact, the reason why you have the 95 Misfits in the first place is because Jerry fucking reached out to Glenn in the mid 80s and said, Glenn, let me get a couple t-shirts. And Glenn said, fuck you. Glenn was like, go fuck yourself. And that began the legal stuff. Had Glenn given him some t-shirts, maybe Jerry wouldn't just kept doing his thing. They would have just focused on Christ the Conqueror. That would have been it. Glenn didn't have a family business to fall back on if everything failed. But back then, none of them knew they were going to sell out MSG years later, and real jobs probably seemed like a good idea. But we know where Glenn went with his hard work as an egotistical leader. Yeah, man. I mean, look, you can't. I mean, listen, Glenn reached success. It took a couple of years, but Glenn found that success in what he was doing. And Glenn was ruthless. Glenn could be a ruthless dude. He really could, from everything we've seen and heard. So it's like, I don't know, man. I see Jerry's point. And again, that's why it's so good to read all these different perspectives, because there really is no one right thing. It's not all black and white. There's so much nuance. This is Glenn at North Park Lions Club in San Diego, 1982. Jerry only. Well, it happened to be Glenn's first solo show. We moved back. So Jerry is saying that the last Misfit show was actually Glenn's first solo show. Well, it happened to be Glenn's first solo show. We moved back and actually hopped on top of our amps and played our set sitting down because he betrayed the strength of the band. He betrayed all the basic rules which made our band what it was. The thing was, all he had to do was admit it. He never even admitted it to himself. He was wrong. He was so fucking wrong that it was so obvious. All he had to do was fix it and say, look, I don't know what the fuck was in my head. Mike Stacks. Some people just can't do that, Jerry only. Well, that's too bad. Then don't make a call if you can't accept when you make a bad call. That's true too. That's true. If you're going to be a fucking leader, if you make a bad call, you got to admit when you make a bad call. So that's how the band ended up. And I haven't talked to him since. Wow. And that's going on 10 years. In this big quote box, you got to be able to laugh at yourself, to be open-minded enough to improve. Once you think that, you can't make a fucking error. That's when you lose fucking imagination. Mike Sachs. So after you got off the stage that night, what happened? I heard the other side of the story from Russ Gibb. Russ Gibb put up the Misfits at their house for this final show. Russ Gibb was a radio DJ who worked with the local Detroit kids who did target video or back porch video to record. They recorded tons and tons of bands. There's so many tapes. I don't know what happened to them all. I was in contact with him about 8 years ago. I always intended on interviewing him, but that required at the time to go out to Detroit, which I could not do. I never got a chance to interview Russ Gibb, and he passed away. But he did tell me the story, or he told me his perspective of them the next day sitting around the table. His wife was making them breakfast. Everybody's nice and polite, not really talking to one another. Something about them doing their hair too, I forget. And that was it. And that was the last that they drove all the way home, didn't talk. that sort of thing. I really, that's what bums me out about some of these interviews. Like, there's a lot of people that I've interviewed who have passed away. I've interviewed 5 people who have passed away. And so that's a good thing. But at the same time, it's like such a bummer when like one of them gets away. Like Russ Gibb, and Russ Gibb was famous. Do you know what Russ Gibb was famous for? He was famous because he was the guy who popularized Paul is Dead on the radio. So when the conspiracy theory that Paul McCartney had died in 1966, that was Russ fucking Gibb, the guy who put the Misfits up. He was the one who popularized that Paul is dead. Robbie says, as weird as it would have sounded, I wonder if they ever thought about bringing in any of the old drummers who did know their stuff, like Joey, Jim, Manny, or shit, even Merp. I bet Merp, out of all those people, it would be Merp, who knew how it would sounded. Manny and Jim, they didn't have a bad falling out like Googie. I think Merp divorced his wife by then, who dragged him out of his last practice. That's right. So he could have played. I don't know their thoughts on Joey by 83 if things cooled off. No, Joey was a junkie, man. Not to speak ill of the dead, but it's true. Joey was a junkie. Joey fucked them over bad in England. Really, really bad. And that was, they were done with Joey. I mean, Doyle and Jerry patched things up with them when the 95 missed, when Chud and Michael left, the band. The very next day they had Joey Image do a set with them, which you can hear with Jerry singing. In terms of Manny, at that point, Manny was out of any sort of music making. He wasn't in bands. Matter of fact, I think Manny had drinking problems, and at some point, maybe he was lost in the bottle. And Mr. Jim, probably out of all of them, I would imagine it would be Mr. Jim. But Mr. Jim, by that point, Mr. Jim is playing. I don't know if Continental Crawler's broken up. He's playing in another band with the guys from the Victims. Steve Berman and Rick Riley from the Victims had a band with Mr. Jim called Aces and Eights. So I think maybe Mr. Jim is playing in that band. But Mr. Jim, I don't know if does he fit the look by that point? I mean, the look is so different from back then. Would they have pulled him back into the fold? I don't know. Could Mr. Jim have handled himself with the material? 150%. I think with enough practice, getting him up to speed, he literally would get up to speed and would have crushed it doing those songs. Mike Stacks. So after you got off stage that night, what happened? Jerry Only. The kid got real drunk, the drummer, and Glenn wanted to leave the kid in fucking Detroit. Can you believe that? I told Glenn, I leave you here before I leave that fucking kid here. We drove back and we were driving my truck with a U-Haul. So Glenn sat in the back with the kid and me and Doyle talked all the way back. We were talking about football. It was football season. So we had enough sports in our head to last us all the way home without any tensions. When we dropped Glenn off, all he took was a suitcase full of clothes, his shit. He didn't own anything that the band owned. He didn't even own a microphone. So that was the last time you talked to him? Jerry Only, yeah. Mike Stacks, have you seen him or anything? Jerry Only, not actually face to face, but that doesn't bother me. He probably still won't admit it to himself, but we had a big opportunity with this band. I don't care how much money he individually is making off his new project. And he made a lot of money off of the Misfits recordings too. What we would have made as a band, he would have made more if he had split it with everybody. Might be true, man. Might be true. If it wasn't for us sucking it up and putting out the cash, he would still be down in his mother's basement. I don't know what kind of following he has now. Oh, he has. This is okay. So again, maybe this is Jerry being a little resentful now because Glenn is at the height of his popularity. Not only is Glenn at the height of his popularity, he's written songs for Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison. He's got a song in the top 40. Mother, it's broken out into the top 40. He's on MTV. He's touring the world. Not only is he touring the world, but he's fucking like discovering bands like Marilyn Manson and Korn and Soundgarden and bringing them out on tour too. He's opening up for fucking Metallica and doing Last Caress with them on, sold out shows, selling out Irvine Meadows and making, home videos and music videos of all kinds. I mean, he's signed to American Recordings and working with one of the hottest producers of the 90s, Rick Rubin. even by that point. So it's like, this sounds like a little bit of sour grapes from Jerry at this point, because Glenn got out with his little suitcase and he fucking went out, fucking took over the world. I mean, he did. He did it without the Misfits. He didn't without any of those fucking Misfit songs. Not a one. He didn't do it with the Crimson Ghost. He did it completely. He reinvented himself. That's what you have to remember about Glenn. He reinvented himself. He did it first in Samhain, and then he did it again in Danzig. And he just fucking, he did it on his own with his own fucking songs. He didn't use those songs anymore. He used a couple of the songs at the beginning when he didn't have enough material for a full set list. So he's some of those Samhain Misfit songs are bleeding through. Songs like London Dungeon and Horrorbiz, Mother of Mercy, To Walk the Night, maybe? I don't know. He did Halloween 2 one night. That's pretty fucking cool as Danzig. They could have gotten the MERP, I think. There's a lot of things. There were a lot of options, I think, that they had. But it just sounds like by then the rift was too big. Glenn wants to move beyond Jerry and Doyle. Jerry and Doyle are, working hard, but doing it in their own way. So let me finish this up. If it wasn't for us sucking it up and putting out the cash, he would still be down in his mother's basement. I don't know what kind of following he has now, but I think he's sold out. So he thinks he's sold out. Glenn has never sold out. That's the thing. Glenn never sold out. He kept going and doing his own fucking thing. I think the closest you could say to Glenn selling out is not even selling out. It's Glenn just listened to Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin had some great feedback and suggestions for sort of restructuring Glenn in a way that he would be more digestible for more mainstream audiences. Even if Danzig was still underground, Danzig is a part of the metal scene, and the metal scene at that time is huge in mainstream music in terms of look like the Headbangers Ball and stuff. Metal was huge, man. Metal today is so fucking niche and such a subgenre, but in the 90s it was fucking ginormous. It was this big fucking branch on the tree of music, and now it's just dwindled. It's died. It's broken in half and sort of fallen off. Relegated to the same subcategories that are, you have punk rock and hardcore punk and yada, 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 alternative indie. It all falls under the indie blanket these days, I guess. So who knows? I think he's just taking all the kids for a ride, selling them fucking bullshit. You don't sell devil shit to a bunch of fucking young kids. Why? Because it's selling. Invent a better hula hoop or something, But Jerry says that. So here now, before I was kind of siding with Jerry, but now I'm flipping back to Glenn. Again, it's not a one to the other. It's not it's like a seesaw, man. Some of them, one guy is right about some stuff and the other guy is right about the other stuff. And, the truth of the matter is, man, here's Jerry talking mad shit, but Jerry's fucking playing songs. Last Caress. I got something to say. I raped a baby today. I killed a baby today. I got something to say. I raped your mother today, Devil's Whorehouse, just we bite, I mean, it's just it's kind of my mother was a whore. My father was a wolf. I don't know, Jerry, Uncle Jerry. Mike Stacks. That's what I don't get about it. It seemed like the Misfits, bleh, Mike Stacks. That's what I don't like. That's what I don't get about it. It seems like in the Misfits, you had this whole horror thing, but it was always with a really good sense of humor, total fun. And that's the difference between, say, Samhain and the Misfits. Both bands are about Halloween. One band is about trick-or-treating and fucking, dressing up all ghoulish and fun. It's all fun. And then the other band is dead serious. That's what Samhain is. It's about Halloween still, but it's about dead serious. It's about all the stuff that Halloween's based on. When you strip away all the modern pop culture connotations of Halloween, you're left with Samhain. And then Samhain morphs into the fucking bluesy metal stripped down vibe of fucking Danzig. Jerry only says, right, that's it. Total fun. Mike Stacks. Now he seems to be taking himself really seriously with all this Satan shit. Jerry only. Well, and here's Jerry. This is the beginning of Jerry only being long with his long-winded answers. Ready? Well, that's the problem, you see. The thing is, you got to be able to laugh at yourself, to be open-minded enough to improve. Once you think that you can't make a fucking error, that's when you lose your fucking imagination. Man, that's true. I agree with you, Jerry, Uncle Jerry. You wind up stagnating yourself because you think you've got the answer, and the answer is something different for everybody. You know what I mean? It's a floating type of thing. What you believe is the best thing for you today, by the end of the week, you may think that it's another way. But if you get too close-minded, he's playing his own song. That's all. And that's unfortunate. The thing that aggravated me was that a lot of publicity about his band to make his band sound good was by slagging off his old band. How great's your new guitar player? How much do you hate the guys in your old band? What's your issue? Ha ha ha. What are you trying to tell us? Because the other band is a bunch of jerks. Your band is good now? It's got nothing to do with the two. Ha 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 ha. There's no comparison between the two. You see, he blew his big chance. Not true. But I know he's ripping off his new guys. I know everybody's on salary. That's true. Glenn had Erie and John Christ and fucking Chuck Biscuits. They were all on a meager salary. And that's the way Glenn runs the show. That's just how he does it. Nobody owns a piece of his action. He's a one-man show. He'd rather be the big guy in a smaller bowl than a big fish in a big sea, and that's his problem. But I guess that's good because he's got the wrong attitude on what to sell, you know? The B-movie Misfits from the late 70s was the thing. He's still living in that shadow, and it's a shame. And that is true. So now to flip the coin here. It's true. Glenn always lived in the fucking shadow of the Misfits, and that's why he never wanted to talk about the Misfits. He never did. He never wanted to fucking talk about them. He gets so fucking mad if you brought up the Misfits in the 90s, and that's true. He did. He took himself fucking really seriously, but it worked. That's what Jerry doesn't understand in 1993. It worked. It worked up until a certain point, Danzig 4. After Danzig 4, the band begins to change. It's no longer a band. It becomes a rotating band with different players. And though there have been some great pieces of music since the number 4 Danzig album, he's never been able to achieve the same sort of musical success that he did with those first 4 albums. If we're being honest, if we're being truthful. Is that to say there are not fucking great songs on certain records? Yeah, man. I fucking love I love Kiss the Skull. Believe it or not, I love Wicked Pussycat. I think that's a really fun. He's rapping. It's hilarious. He's a rap song. I think what else? Black Angel, White Angel is a great song. Skin Carver. I love that he opens the set with Skin Carver. Great fucking song. Come to Silver, great fucking song. Most of Death Thread Sabaoth is fucking great. Most of fucking Danzig Sings Elvis is fucking great. I'm sure I'm leaving some stuff out. Point is, I will say this. I said this in the Danzig Sings Elvis episode. Pocket Full of Rainbows and Always on My Mind are 2 of the most interesting tracks that Glenn has done since 1994. Sorry to say it, but it's true. I've heard people say that both 4 and 5 are like secretly Samhain albums. I don't really understand that. Robbie says as much shit as 5 gets. One of his best vocal performances is Ashes from Danzig 5. You know, I'm going to have to give that a listen. I haven't listened to 5 in a very, very long time. So I can't really speak to that, but I will give it a listen to check it out. Check that shit out. All right, let's finish this fucking sucker. I think he would have been more successful if he would have worked with everybody that is on his side of the fence. I don't like people that need you when they need you. And if they don't need you, they can give a fuck about you. I always found that's shallowness. It's self-centered. I'm not that way. I never felt that way. I never felt that we were anything special. The pat on the back wasn't what it was about. It was about everybody saying how great you are and telling you. It wasn't about everybody saying how great you are and telling you, oh, you guys are cool and all that. We like doing it. And if everybody else liked it, that was great. But we were never
but we never put ourselves above John Q. Public. You know what I mean? Because you're not. The real heroes are the guys who get up and go to work every fucking day. That's hard. And that's precisely what Jerry does every day. He's kept very busy running his factory, where Doyle also works. In their spare time, they work on writing, playing, and recording music with their new band, Christ the Conqueror. Musically, what's the story with what you've done since the Misfits? This will be very interesting because this is right before Christ the Conqueror turns into Misfits 95. Both Christian themed bands. Christ the Conqueror is Christian themed, and Misfits 95 is secretly Christian themed. Could you imagine how mad Glenn Danzig would be if he realized that they're releasing? Because he probably has no idea. Glenn probably has no idea that any of the songs on American Psycho or Famous Monsters are secretly Christian songs. So he'd probably be fucking furious, especially in the 90s. Maybe not now. Maybe he wouldn't care as much. Especially not right now when him and Jerry are making tons of music. Could you imagine Jerry only in 1993 like learning that he would reunite with Glenn, that they would sell out Madison Square Garden and each get paid $1 million to play together? It's like fucking insane. Fucking insane. Jerry only says, since the Misfits, we've improved our playing technique. We've improved our equipment. We've improved our outlook. We know what we want. What I want out of music is I want to enjoy it. When I play it, I want to like it. The thing is, like I tell Doyle, we try and practice and keep the thing going. The main thing, I think this is the final page. My God, this was a marathon. This is a marathon fucking thing. Is that the final page? Oh my God, there's fucking more. I'm not complaining. I just, it's just a lot. Don't have any more seltzer. My throat is really thirsty. I'm sorry. I'll shut up. I'm complaining too much. There's Christ the Conqueror. Look at them. Look at them, man. Look at them. Look at those fucking guys. No makeup. Long ass fucking hair. Their guitars. So crazy. In another fucking world, they would have become, Christ the Conqueror would have become like the new Man of War, It's pretty funny. It's the paragraph continues, is to produce something we're happy with. Whether it pays for you or it doesn't is not really the issue. The issue is that the music, in the most part, people use it as a business. They play shit, they promote shit, they promote garbage because they're making money. So they don't really care about what they're doing and what they're playing. It's very misleading. I'm not going to prostitute my love of the music for fame and fortune. I won't do it. And here's Jerry. Money fucking talks, motherfucker. You know it. Glenn knows it. They both fucking know it. I'm not going to prostitute my love of the music for fame and fortune. Come on. I won't do it because once the fame and fortune take over, then everything else winds up sucking. It's like you get one bad apple and throw it in there and everything, and eventually you get a pile of fucking mush. It stinks, And that's what happens. You get people harping in on your money. You can't trust this guy. You can't trust that guy. It's a lot of fucking bullshit. There's a lot of real parasites in the music business. And there's a lot of fucking wannabe people who want to hold positions in their jobs. They fuck around, and I see it all the time. I got very little respect for the whole business. In a way, I feel that I got spared. A buddy of mine told me that he was talking to Glenn after Glenn started getting some cash, and Glenn said he still felt like he was missing something. Even with the money, it doesn't comfort you. Oh, that's interesting. First, look at this picture of Jerry. Cool picture of Jerry. Look at Doyle's fucking devil vein down to the chesticles, man. So he says that Glenn started to get cash, and Glenn said he still felt like something was missing. Up here, we're tight. I got my kids. We're married. I got horses. We got it all. Mike Stacks. When did you get married? Jerry only. Oh, I got married in 1982. I had a kid when I was in the band. Wow. So he got married when Walk Among Us was coming out. Now I got a family and we do things. We go bowling or we go skiing. We got ski slopes out here. It's perfect. If I was a big star, I'd have to be on the road all the time. I wouldn't get to enjoy my family. So maybe I got to work hard a day, probably just as hard as driving from town to town playing a 3-hour show. But at the same time, I get to go home every night and sleep in my own bed and watch my TV or take my dog down to the football field and run around. Those luxuries, maybe the people who are big stars and shit, they don't mind, but that would bother me. I take it as it comes. The thing is, you got to be happy with what you got. If you can be satisfied with what's dealt to you, then you're going to live a much happier life. That is true. I agree with you, Jerry, on that. Because you're not always going to be wanting shit you can't have, you know? So I try not to screw anybody over. I try to make good on all the deals I make. Sometimes I got to pay through the nose, but I try to do that and keep my hands clean. So this is from a guy. This is from a guy who is making peace with the possible idea that he's never going to play as the Misfits again, even though he's fighting for the Misfits name. And once the Misfits are fucking back in action, you hear, like in 1998, there's some interviews and you hear Jerry say, the Misfits never died. We were just trying to get the name back. So this is wildly different from, this is a guy who's made peace with the fact that he may never have the life of a successful musician, but in a very short period of time, he's going to win that name back. And all of this is going to go flying out the window. It does. You know, not to say that he doesn't have his family and his business and whatnot, but, you know, at a certain point, Jerry, for the next 5 years, Jerry, well, I mean, even longer than that, but the next 5 years, Jerry heavily starts touring as the Misfits again and, you know, starts making money, lots of money being in the Misfits. Eventually down the road, even further down the road, he, you know, him and his wife split up for whatever reasons that they split up. You know, it changes. It all fucking changes, you know? So this is, but at this point in time, Jerry is trying to find contentment in his domestic life. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's beautiful, man. And it sounds like even if Jerry is fighting for the name back, it's really more about like the honor necessarily than happiness. I don't think Jerry, and again, this is just from what I'm gathering from reading this, I don't think Jerry is like, you know, it's not like winning the Misfits name is going to make him happy again. I just think that it's, you know, it's more about honor and validation on some level, all going back to when, you know, he's realizing that he's not making fucking money and Glenn's making all the money from the stuff. And his dad is like, Jerry Sr. is like, what the fuck are you doing, Jerry? Get out there, get your fucking band back. I spent all that money, you know, and like, go get a lawyer, you know, who knows? Mike Stacks, what's behind the name of your new band, Christ the Conqueror? Jerry only. Well, basically, I wasn't very happy with the Danzig project. Like he had, so Christ the Conqueror is literally the answer to fucking Danzig. That's his answer to Danzig. So even though he's disassociated from the band, he's talking about how Glenn is shitting on the old on the guys when, you know, about not being experienced. And really, I think he's more talking about the 80s. He's talking about the Pusshead interview. He's not talking about in the 90s, because by the 90s, Glenn's not talking about the Misfits anymore. He's talking about fucking, he's talking about, he doesn't want to talk about the Misfits. This is the Samhain days where he's still more openly talking about the Misfits and slagging on his old band members and celebrating how the band in Samhain is so much better, you know, but here's Jerry doing the exact same fucking thing, right? He's doing the exact same thing. He's fucking, you know, responding to Glenn as Danzig by being Christ the Conqueror. Well, basically, I wasn't very happy with the Danzig project. Like he had the T-shirt printed up with the demon killing Christ and shit like that. I kind of felt like it was very misleading. The problem is he's living off of his Misfits fame. I mean, a little bit, but not really, man. Glenn is not actively promoting himself as ex-Misfits. He's not doing that. You know who does that? That's Bobby Steele. Bobby Steele, who today will not talk about the Misfits at all. Try to interview Bobby Steele, he will not fucking talk to you. I believe me, when I was doing 1979, I was trying to pull interviews that were not my interviews because I want to keep that content exclusive for They Came From Lodi, and you wouldn't believe how hard it was to find him talking about the fucking Misfits. Come 2016, I think, he stopped talking about the Misfits. So the last 4 to 5 years, Bobby doesn't talk. But he still goes by Bobby Steele, ex-Misfits. I mean, that's how he sells. That's how he, you know, That's part of the promotion for the Undead. I'll never understand it, but you know, at the end of the day, that's his severance, man. That's you know, the Misfits name has kept Bobby Steele eating for a very long time. Not in a bad way either at all. Like, you know, think about all the fucking work Bobby put into that band, and you know, his playing on the recordings, and he didn't see, you know, a fraction of the fucking money that he should have seen maybe from the royalties. Who knows? Bobby once told me that all he's ever made in 40 years of Misfitsdom is about $70,000 by his account. $70,000 from that stuff. So Jerry here is saying the problem is he's living off of his Misfits saying, and this is the beginning of when Jerry just talks mad shit about Glenn in interviews. He would do it all through the 90s. It just would never stop. And then around the 2000s, he starts to be like, oh, you know, Glenn and I never really had a problem with Glenn. Me and Glenn and I are good, you know, that sort of thing. And that was probably in response to, because 10 years from now, Glenn and Jerry are going to meet in LA to talk about doing a reunion. 9 years in 2002. And Jerry will ruin it. The problem is these kids, they just come up and they don't know about it. They think great band, and they see these guys in Glenn, and they think that's the same kind of thing we were into, is what he's now into. And that just isn't the case. So I guess the name was a reaction to that, to stuff it in their face. I knew it would be hard to work with, but I really didn't care. And the logo is halfway decent. If you haven't heard my stuff, when you hear it, you're going to shit, because I think it's where the Misfits should have went. With Christ the Conqueror, Jerry, a.k.a. Mo the Great, and Doyle have traded in punk for heavy rock, but their goal is to still make music with the kind of power and energy that they used to unleash in the Misfits. On their CD cassette, they thunder through 6 hard rocking songs with a force that would make most other heavy groups cower, like March of the Megamites. In spite of all the bitterness surrounding the breakup with the Misfits, Jerry speaks with real pride about his past. He knows that no matter what happens, he will always be a Misfit. I think that is prevalent in this interview. He does talk with pride, you know, and why shouldn't he, man? In the same way that, like, you know, he's resentful that the band got so big in the 90s, left such an exquisite corpse, and Jerry can't have any of that any of the milk of that success, and he wants it. Now, this is a picture right here. See these gloves? That's, I believe, even with the Misfits in the background, I believe, and yeah, because his devil lock is short, because he started doing the devil lock again. This is a late era Christ the Conqueror fucking Mo the Great. I don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it is. And the reason why, this right here. He didn't have that when he was in the Misfits. That all came with Christ the Conqueror. So again, if someone wants to prove me wrong, correct me, please feel free. Mike Stacks. Why do you think it is that the Misfits' popularity has grown ever since the band has broken up? Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Danzig, and later Misfits 95. Jerry Only. To be honest with you, the thing about the Misfits, it's like American Pie and Chevrolet. It's the American dream, man. It's the artists. The Misfits were the artist's American dream, especially when it came to the fucking Fiend Club. Notice that the Fiend Club doesn't get mentioned once in this interview. You know why? Because I don't think Jerry had very much to do with any of it. I think that was all Glenn. You would think that would have come up when he was talking about sending stuff out. I don't know. I don't know. What it is meat and potatoes. It's doing powerful music, simplistic to the point, and at the time, it was coming from the heart. That was the whole thing. We believed we were doing great stuff, plus the fact that we were up against the odds. Nobody knew what we were doing. Everybody had no concept of what the fuck we were doing. Everything was not held back. You know what I mean? Mike Stacks, as a person, how would you say you're different now to when you were in the Misfits? Jerry Only, none. Ha 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 ha. Mike Stacks, it didn't change you at all? Jerry Only, no, it's pretty much a constant thing, you know. I try to do what's right and work as hard as I can. I do believe that Jerry does work really hard. You can never, no matter what you ever fucking say about Jerry, you cannot take away the fact that that dude works his fucking ass off. He does. He does. Doyle too. They all have a fucking work ethic. They do. Even if Glenn didn't work a straight job, he fucking busted his ass. These guys work their fucking asses off. Mike Stacks didn't change at all. Jerry only, no, it's pretty much a constant thing. You know, I try to do what's right and work as hard as I can at whatever the hell I've got to do. That's pretty much it. I always have the same outlook. And there's a Plan 9 from Outer Space thing. And then this is the Misfits discography, right? Shows you all the stuff. The following discography lists all official vinyl releases for reasons of space and sanity. I have not bothered documenting the many variations in sleeve and label designs, color vinyl, test pressings, promos, or dozens of bootlegs of live and studio material. That would be another article itself. And that's in 1993. All are U.S. releases unless stated otherwise. Yeah, Cherry Red is the UK and Germany. Aggressive Rock Productions. Although it says 12-inch singles and EPs, I believe Beware is a 10-inch. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe so. And look at this. Where's Static Age? You don't see it. Look at that. That is fucking crazy. Look at this. The discography starts with 1982 with Walk Among Us, Earth AD, Legacy of Brutality. This is the Static Age album, really. Evilive, Misfits, and the Walk Among Us reissue, and Flipside Vinyl Fanzine, which with Attitude. So the idea of a Static Age album or 12 Hits from Hell is non-existent at this time in 1993. Wow. 2 fucking hours have passed. I can't believe we did 2 fucking hours on, on this shit. I'm just like, I'm fucking dead right now. D-E-D, dead. I just want to go through one more time, since we still have 9 people on this thing. 9 people, 2 hours and 6 minutes later. I can't believe you guys are still here. If you enjoyed the creation of this content, if you enjoyed these 2 hours along with the extra hour, thank you, Kenny. Kenny says, good stuff. Thanks, Jeff. So if you enjoyed this 3 hours of content tonight and would like to help me distract from getting a real job like Jerry and have more of a job like Glenn and Doyle, like Glenn, sorry, let me take that again. If you would like to help me continue to procrastinate from getting a job like Jerry and Doyle's and keep the dream alive by having a job like Glenn, purchase one of these shirts. When you purchase one of these shirts, you are supporting the creation of this content, including the documentary. Look at this beautiful. Look at that. That's the big print right there. I forgot what this one's called. This is called it's called an all over print. It's a unisex tee. You can do it in yellow. You can do it in red. You can do it in a sort of evergreen blue. That's pretty fucking sick. That's a punked out JFK with some football undershadow and sporting a demon vein on his face. That's the face of a demon. And then on the back, it says right on the posterior, it says, they came from Lodi. So you see there, they came from Lodi on the back, and on the front, you get that print. This is probably my favorite shirt of all. Look at that in the neon. I think it's so pretty. Oh no, whoops. Oh, I guess they don't have the all over print is not available in the neon. The only way you can do the neon is on the, what is this? That's the woman's classic tee. But I'm sure you can do that in like an extra large if you're a man. Fuck all that shit about the fucking unisex. Look, 3XL, I'm sure that'll fit a fucking nice burly dude, even if it's a woman's tee. Look how beautiful that is. I'm a big fan of this one. That's great. They came from Lodi. Let's see what this one is. Yeah. So that's like a long sleeve shirt. We just got a ton of merch. Wow. What a compliment. Listen to what Buzz fucking says. At 2 hours and 10 minutes in, Buzz says, I could listen to this all day. You could listen to me talk about the Misfits from my computer and then try and sling my wares at you. And you know, folks, if you don't want to buy T-shirts, listen, times are fucking tough. I get that. I get that times are tough. But you know what? There are other ways that you can support the creation of this content for free. If you go to this website, Frumess.com, right here, just go to Frumess.com, click on some of the ads. You do me such a big fucking favor when you do that. You are contributing, or go to this little link right here. See this? This is support me on Ko-fi. And when you do that, you can buy me a cup of coffee. Boom. Here, I'm going to put this. What? You got to log in? Oh, yeah. There you go. So you can buy me a cup of coffee right there. Now, when you buy a T-shirt, or if you buy me a cup of coffee or whatever, that will automatically get you added to the credits, the executive producer credits for 1979. Or you can just click on some of these ads. Look, see, click on that ad. When you click on that ad, boom, pennies go right into my AdSense account. Lastly, let's say that you want to support the arts themselves. All you got to do is call. God, this is such a great comment. I'm going to fucking screenshot this because I love it so much. Had to do that. Just click on one of these ads, man. Click on some of these ads. There's me. There's me in the pit right there. That's at a New Bomb Turk show, maybe. Blood tests, Raptors, big fucking lion, dressing like a weirdo, Colorado, my leather. Oh, there's me and Steve. That's Dano, and that's Steve Zing from I think we were doing, I forgot what we were doing in that. We were shooting some sort of video or something. I don't fucking know. Point is that when you click on these links, it really, really helps. Any questions, comments, concerns? That's my current headshot right now. This was days after I quit smoking. Right around the time I quit smoking. I was a youngster, 22 years old. Shit, I wonder where these photos are. The scans of these photos. They were sent to me. I have no idea where I put them. Shit. All right. In any case, that's really it, folks. I'm just procrastinating now. Let me find those links one more time for the you can leave. You can exit. We're down to 7 people watching this. I'm surprised that, again, I'm like literally not talking about anything. Pretty soon we're gonna do we've got some cool fucking episodes coming up. Again, there's something on Thursday. I shouldn't have even said that. Why the fuck did I just say that? I shouldn't have even said that. This is the sour cream shirt. Something coming on Thursday. Keep your fingers crossed for me on Thursday. I hope it works out. I'm really looking forward to this fun episode. It's nothing super special. It'll just be a lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun to do this sort of thing. And one day we're going to do our viewer listenership episode where you guys are going to come on the show. We're going to get to know you, hear about why you love the Misfits so much and that sort of jazz. Yo, what the fuck? It's already fucking 12:30. Like, oh my God, I got to wake up to get my son ready for school tomorrow. Okay. Well, this was fun. Peace and hair grease. We'll be, I'll see you next week. Thank you, Rue. Have a good one. I missed the first part of the show, but love what I've seen. Is there a way to watch it later? Zim Vader. You can watch on my YouTube, man. Go to the fucking, all right. Last thing before I go. If you haven't signed up yet, please come and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because I got to tell you, all of the content, all of the shows, all of the previous shows are on YouTube. And pretty soon, I think we're going to be doing YouTube Live, meaning the only way you're going to be able to watch the show is on YouTube. I think I'm leaving Facebook Live. I think that's what's going down. I don't think we're going to be continuing because for a bunch of reasons, but mainly traffic will be diverted there. So that's really where you want to go. So come and subscribe here. There you go, Zim. You just do that. Go and subscribe now, people. All right, now I'm really fucking leaving. Box of saltines, can of sardines, frozen pizzas, rice cakes, 1 dozen burritos, Shrek 2 on DVD, a 3-liter bottle of Mountain Dew. Yeah!